Please note that the content of this episode has explicit language and is not suitable for underage listeners. Hi, I'm CJ, and I've done phone sex for 23 years. Let's get started. I'd like to remind you that I look forward to reading your questions and comments or anything you have to say, so please email me at phonesexqueen1@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. So by now, you know, I've heard a lot of things, and some of the stories just don't ever get old. So I got a call the other night from a guy who wanted to tell me what happened to him a few years ago. He wasn't able to tell anyone because he was so embarrassed, and he said he could tell me because he didn't know me. That seems to be the running theme. If you don't know me, I'm the perfect person you can talk to. So he went on a date, and he borrowed his father's car. He's now in his late 30s, and this happened in his mid to early 20s. He says he kept this secret this whole time. Whether it's true or not, who knows? And it doesn't really matter. But he felt like he wanted to tell me. And to me, this seems like one of those stories that he would tell a guy friend or two. So, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So he goes on a date with this woman, and they have a really good night. And they go back to the car, and they can't keep their hands off each other. So they decide to get in the back seat, puts a condom on, and they have sex. And they were done. They thought, oh, let's do something silly. So they tie the condom up and play with it like a balloon. I think he blew it up, obviously. And you can guess what happens. The condom breaks and cum flies everywhere, all over the car. He said it would have been bad no matter what, but the car being his dad's car, now he had to go scrub it and make sure it was super clean. Like, his girlfriend was mortified. And I don't know if you remember the scene in Pulp Fiction where they accidentally shoot the guy in the back of the car. It kind of gives me that image. Like, you know, there's blood everywhere. Well, there's cum everywhere. And he had to scrub it and make sure it was like impeccably clean. I found it to be really disgusting. I didn't say that, of course, but in my head, I have lots of thoughts. And that Pulp Fiction scene was one of them where they had to go back and scrub it really good. So he did tell me he cleaned it up and it all worked out. But at the time, he was a little freaked out, and I don't blame him. And I just can't imagine being the girl in the car. Really weird. I had a bit of a controversial call a little while ago that I will share with you. Why not? So this couple went on vacation. And this, of course, is the guy calling me and telling me what happened on the vacation. He and his wife went to Jamaica. I'm pretty sure it was Jamaica. And it was very tropical. I think they went there for many reasons. But one was they were looking to find a guy that can join them. And I think it really wasn't for both of them. I think it was really more for the wife. It sounded like it. So they met some men, and I think they finally found what he considered to be the right guy. Big, tall, dark guy, muscles, and very well hung. They found him both to be very attractive, and the well hung part and the good shape and great body was really what they were looking for. He didn't say they were looking for a threesome. It was more for his wife. He said they fooled around a lot on vacation, and they struck up a conversation saying or asking him what his thoughts were about coming home with them to the States. The guy thought about it for a couple of days while they were still there, and he decided why not? He'd go home with them. Already I found this story to be a bit strange, but okay, this is their life. So they brought him home, and he was used to have sex with this guy's wife. And I don't want to say used, but that was his purpose. His purpose was to come with them to the States and be their stud, if you will. So he came, and when he called me, he wanted me to listen to them having sex. And I heard what sounded like two people having sex. I don't know if it was that man or someone else, but he was explaining to me who was having sex in the background, that he doesn't have sex with his wife anymore, that is strictly this guy because he's bigger and better, and he services her better, and she loves it. He lives there with them, and he's basically at her beck and call whenever she wants. And that was his new or their new lifestyle. He wanted me to give my opinion. He wanted to know what I really thought. So then it becomes, well, what do I think? I have to think like my phone actress person would think and not what CJ would think, because sometimes I would say most of the time, those are two very different trains of thought. When people ask my opinion, I have to think about what they would want to hear. Very rarely do I tell them what I truly, truly think, because it's very different. And so I have to think about how they sounded when they talked to me, how excited they were. Do they want to hear the truth, or do they want to hear what they want to hear? It's a lot, and I have to sound real, and not that I'm making it up either. So in my head, it can get quite complicated. Yeah, it can get quite complicated. I think in anybody's head it would be quite complicated. So I told him that I thought it was really exciting and that it really serves a purpose for them, because he wasn't able to really satisfy her in the way that she wanted to be satisfied, and that she could be satisfied by this man and still be married and happy and live this wonderful life. And so he kind of liked my answer. I think he was satisfied with it. Speaking of satisfied, would I want that life? No. Would I stay in a marriage where I wasn't fulfilled? I don't think so, but I didn't tell him any of that. If he asked me, I would give him some weird more information, but he really just wanted to know what I thought. And what I thought was, great for you guys, you're making it work. So I found that to be an interesting one. Whether it's true or not, I think it happens a lot more frequently than I think it does, because I've had a lot of calls where the man is a cuckold. We've talked about this, or I've talked about this before many times, where the husband isn't satisfying the wife. They go out and they get a guy, but it's not usually a live-in. It's unconventional. It's strange, but it works for them. And so this guy was here from Jamaica, and he was their stud. The husband, on occasion, would get him hard and ready for her. And so he told me that. He said sometimes he would suck his dick, and that really wasn't something he super enjoyed. But if his wife enjoyed it and he wanted to make her happy, then he would do it. So he really would do anything that she wanted. And this is what she wanted. And so I guess if in time she gets sick of him, meaning the guy that they brought from Jamaica, then maybe they'll go and find someone else. So who knows? It works for them. And all I said was, I'm very happy for you. People have all sorts of fetishes, as I've discussed, one of which is something pretty common, and that is a foot fetish. When you hear about a foot fetish, it might conjure up images of people licking on toes, or licking the arch of a foot, or even just massaging your foot, or putting their fingers between your toes, all sorts of different things. Even as simple as, I want to see your toenails. I want to see how they're polished. It's all over the map. Sometimes it even goes as far as getting a foot job instead of a hand job. So if you think of a hand job, you know what that is. Just imagine instead of your hands, you use your feet, the arches of your feet. And a lot of people like that. It's not a shock to me, but it might be surprising to you. So typically, whatever you think, there's a lot more out there than what you know. So one day someone calls me and asks me if my toenails are painted, which happens quite a bit. I say yes, and they ask me what color. I typically say they're the same color, and they love it, and they talk about feet, and do I wear high heels, etc., etc. It's all about the feet, and it's really about the high heels. Well, this individual was getting heated because we're talking about feet, and he tells me what he likes to do, and that is he likes to have a woman, or his woman, come home from work after wearing high heels all day, and it's not about the feet now. It's about the foot having been in the shoe all day. And so what he would do is he would, in his words, fuck the shoe. I hadn't heard that one before. Fuck the shoe. Okay. He would take his dick, put it in the shoe until he comes in the shoe. This individual, it seemed, had high heels at home, and so he was able to do it while talking on the phone and talking about feet. That's a little different than what I usually get or what I usually talk about. But there's no usual because everybody's different. So that took a fetish to a different turn. I never expected that. But like I said, I try not to expect anything because you really do never know where a call is going to go. That took the foot fetish one step further. It was like, I love the foot. I really like the shoe the foot in the shoe. And now I really like the shoe because the foot was in the shoe. And so I need to do something about it. And so There's not a lot of talking for me other than, he asked me, do I wear high heels? And how does my foot feel in the heels? Do I feel sexy when I wear high heels? And that all comes into play with the foot fetish. It takes all kinds, you know what I mean? So a couple people have said to me lately that I'm a saint. And I just laugh when I hear that. I am far from that. They couldn't do this type of work, so I'm a saint. And I certainly wouldn't call myself that. I don't think of myself in that way. No one is a saint. Are they really? Just because I listen to people who have differing opinions, who want to be argumentative, who call me names, like I told you, and me staying on the phone, listening to them and not hanging up does not make me a saint. Like I've said to you before many times already, I get paid to listen to people, and even if I don't like what they have to say, I listen to what they say. That's part of my job, so I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect. I think to be a saint, you must be perfect, and I am very, very far from that. My head has a lot of thoughts. I just don't say them. I don't say what a crazy mofo you are after a phone call. I just listen, and I smile over here, or I make a face, but they can't see me. So I'm just doing my job. And if that makes me a saint in your eyes, so be it. I just don't feel like one. You can't know what's going on in my head, right? Like I said, it's not pure or saintly for that matter. So I just wanted to say that. I might be a different kind of human being. I might be a good person. I don't know. I think I'm kind of nuts, but for doing this, I mean. But I also find it fun, and it is entertaining. And, it's hard to find entertainment. So it's amusing, and I get paid for it. So it's kind of fun. Recently, I've had a couple people tell me that they've learned a lot by listening to my podcast. So to that, I say thank you very much. I appreciate it. You never know who's listening and how this affects people. And it's really nice to hear that people like what I'm doing. So thank you. And I will continue. It's really nice to hear that people like what I'm doing. On that note, another subject came up is how can you be for women's rights and all of that and do this? Well, it's my prerogative to do whatever I want. And since, like I said before, this isn't hurting anyone, I find it to be of service more than anything else. I'm providing a service that I still can be for women's rights and do this at the same time. I don't find it to be going against anything that has to do with a woman's right at all. It's my right. It's our right to do what we want. And I'm not sleeping around, so has nothing to do with my body. It's not anti anything what I'm doing. I'm just listening and sometimes having a conversation. So I don't get that way of thinking that everybody's entitled to think what they want to think. And I found that question or that comment, how could I do this, to be kind of odd. It's odd when someone says stupid stuff to me, like, you're a baby killer because I live in California. I'm not a baby killer. I've never killed a baby. And so that's on them. That's not on me. And I don't need to comment or justify what I'm doing. It goes back to the whole judging thing. And someone that says they don't judge what I do, clearly there's some judgment there. And it's okay. Everyone's entitled to act and feel and think the way they do. So there you go. I'm not a saint. And yes, I believe in women's rights. And that has nothing to do with this. And if you think it does, then I'm sorry. That's all I can say. So on that note, this podcast is a little shorter than normal. That's all for now. Thank you for listening to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen, everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. Please reach out to me, like I said before, with your questions, comments, and anything you have to say at phonesexqueen1@gmail.com. New episodes drop every Monday. Check me out on Facebook at CJCJ, on Instagram and TikTok at phonesexqueen1. It's O-N-E, not the number 1. If you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when a new podcast is dropped. I would love that if you do that. And until next time, stay sexy.